On this session, we're going to play some standard jazz beats, that is ride cymbal beats. In other words, that type of ride cymbal with coordination of the bass drum in the left hand, and also the hi-hat. What we want to do first of all, of course, is go to the very basic idea of playing the bass drum on every beat and playing the hi-hat on every other beat. Now I call that rhythm the established rhythm. It's a rhythm that we play when we play ordinary jazz. We also, of course, have a 2-beat, which means that we play the bass drum only on every other beat. And those are the two that we are going to explore first. On page 34 of the 4-way coordination book, we have basic rhythm number 1. The first measure of 2/4 time has a bass drum on each beat, beat 1 and 2. And the hi-hat just on the second beat. Even though it's written in 2/4 time, we can just simply repeat that measure and get the feeling that we're playing in 4/4 time. And that's what I'm going to do at first. I'm going to take basic rhythm 1 and do the very first measure, and then read down, not horizontally, but down vertically, and that will add the left hand. So what we're doing is we're starting out with the feet and the right hand, and then adding the left hand. Now what I'll do is I'll play it and play each line maybe 4 times before I go on to the next one. So I'll be playing basic rhythm number 1, which is just a 2/4 measure, but I will play it twice in my mind, so I'll be feeling it in 4/4 time. And then I'll play that 4/4 rhythm twice. So that would be 4 times of 2/4, or 2 measures of 4/4. And I will do each one several times, keep the ride cymbal going between, and then add the left hand. And so there'll be, the first exercise will just be the bass drum, hi-hat, and the right hand. And then as I read down, there'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more exercises, adding the left hand. So here's the way we'll start. Now, it's also a wise idea to switch the hands so that I play the ride cymbal with the left hand, and then I will add the snare drum with the right hand. So let's do that. We will repeat exactly what we did with the right hand on the cymbal, but play it now with the left hand on the cymbal. second measure, we have the bass drum on 1 and the hi-hat on 2. This alternates back and forth, and we get what we call 2-beat. Now, I'm going to play the second measure and then go down. So these will be all second measures of each line. Again, I will play it 4 times, but I will perhaps feel it in my mind as if I'm playing 2 measures of 4/4. It'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. And then I will add the snare drum on the next exercise. Go 1, 2, 3, 4. Another thing we can do with these exercises is to put 2 exercises together. Now I can put them together the way they're written, but I can also say take the first measure, which has the bass drum on all 4 beats, and then play that measure and go on and play the second measure, but keep the bass drum going on all 4 beats. In other words, just by playing the same thing with the bass drum on the second measure that I do in the first measure, I can get a 4/4 measure. What's the advantage of that? Well, then I will be able to sight read both measures together on the snare drum, with the left hand playing the snare drum. So I'll get more of a 4/4 feeling rhythmically, because the idea that I express on the snare drum will be a 4-beat idea rather than a 2-beat idea. So let's do that. I'm going to play the bass drum on all 4 beats, even though the second measure is written with the bass drum only on the first beat. So I'll be playing 2 measures of 4/4 time in my mind, and then going down. And when I go down, then I will be able to sight read the snare drum for 4 beats rather than just for 2 beats. So let's do that. I will play the measure, the 4/4 time, and then I will play the measure with the left hand added. And we'll go on to the 6 exercises that have the left hand playing the snare drum. But here's the 4/4. I'm going to add the left hand. Again, I want to go through that routine with the left hand playing the ride cymbal and the right hand playing the rhythm on the snare drum. Next thing I'm going to do is go back to playing just one measure. And it will be with the bass drum on all beats. And I will take certain ones that I think you should practice and get quite fast. Now these are just standard rhythms. As an example, if you look at the third one down, we have the basic rhythm, which is number 1, and then we have an exercise, and then the third one down. You're playing both hands together. That would be a good one to practice. The fifth one down is what we call a quarter note triplet. So we can practice. The very last one has 2 beats. The first 2 beats of the so that would be a good one to practice. Also, if we look at the second measure, in other words, go back to basic rhythm number 1 and look at the second measure, we have a couple things that would be quite standard. One would be on the fourth one down, what I call an offbeat quarter note triplet, where the quarter note triplet starts on the second note of the first triplet. One in the second measure, we have so those would be the standard ones that I would practice because they're so common and they're coordinations that everybody should be able to do. So I will isolate those. The first one, and I'll play with the bass drum on all 4 beats, regardless of whether I'm playing the first or the second measure. So let me give an example of those quarter note triplets. If we look at basic rhythm number 1 and count on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from the top, we have a quarter note triplet that starts right on beat 1, very first note of the first triplet. So let's practice that. We'd play a standard rhythm with the right hand. I'll do it with the left hand. Let's do that offbeat quarter note triplet. Now this would be the second measure, 1, 2, 3, 4 down from the top. Okay, and I'm going to play it, but now I'm going to play it with the bass drum on the beats. Go down to the very bottom, and I will play those 2 examples. The first example has the snare drum on the first 2 beats of the triplet. Double stroke, or I call it double stroke, on the second and third note of the triplet. Now, for many pages in this book now, we have what we call basic rhythms. All they are is the bass drum, the hi-hat, and the ride cymbal. Once we master that basic rhythm, then of course we can add the left hand or the right hand, if we're playing the cymbal with the left hand, on all kinds of combinations. Elliot Fine and I have given you about 6 ways to add the left hand to any basic rhythm. But it's obvious that you can make up ways to add the left hand or sight read other parts of the book in order to give you more practice. Basic rhythm 2 again, is divided into two parts. We can play the basic rhythm as quarter notes. And in the book it's written with the bass drum on all 4 beats, so if I think of that as a 4/4 measure. But again, I have the option in my mind to play it as a 2-beat. If we look at the second measure, it's what we call a shuffle rhythm. In the book it's written as a 2-beat shuffle rhythm. But I quite often practice it with the bass drum in all beats, so. So let's play the basic rhythm number 2. But let's play it the way it's written in the book. And again, what I'll do is add the snare drum after I play the basic rhythm several times. Now, in the book, we have the first 3 measures on page 34. But if we want to continue the exercise, we have to look at page 35 and play the exercise, another 4 exercises actually on page 35, which again would be the first measure. So here we're playing. Now let's do the same thing with the left hand. Again, we want to practice right hand and then the same thing left-handed. I'll play it again right-handed at a little faster tempo. The thing that I'm doing now on the next to the last example that I just played is playing a 3 against 2. In other words, I'm playing a steady beat with the right hand and then a quarter note triplet with the left hand, which amounts to playing 3 notes with the left hand against 2 with the right hand. And of course, when we repeat it, again, I'm playing the quarter note note triplet with the right hand, so that would be the 3, and the straight notes with the left hand, so that would be 2. So I'm practicing 2 against 3 in both directions. One thing I might mention is when we get going at a fairly good tempo, like it's always a good idea to make sure that the quarter note is being played again with what we call constant motion. I'm not playing it like keeping the stick going in constant motion. That will give you a lighter sound for one thing. It also perhaps will make you play a steadier rhythm because it's like the tick-tock of a clock. Now we'll go on to the shuffle rhythm. This in the book on page 34, Basic Rhythm 2, the second measure. And I'm going to, however, play the bass drum on all 4 beats. I'm going to think that is 4/4 time. So I'll be taking that one measure and repeating it in order to get the feel of a 4/4 measure. It'll be like this. In my mind, 2 measures of 4/4 time, and then I will go on reading down and add the left hand on the snare drum. So 2 measures. Repeat that last one, make it a little more definite than what I just attempted. So again, certain ones, we should probably practice more than the others simply because they're so popular. But one that I would like to repeat would be the third one, and then you have to go back to page 34 and read the third one down. And that, in my estimation, is like playing the ride cymbal, the established rhythm with the right hand, or the left hand in this case, while I'm playing the shuffle rhythm with the right hand. So I would... Let's use that like a rudiment. We'll start out slow and gradually increase. And notice I'm phrasing it like an established rhythm. In other words, I'm putting a little accent on the second beat. On the shuffle rhythm, what I'm actually doing is putting a little accent on each beat. Now you don't have to do it that way, but that makes a definite drive on beat. And I simply do it by squeezing with my fingers so I get the accent on the beats. The established rhythm here, and now that's one that I would practice quite a bit. And of course the quarter note triplets, they're always nice to practice. and the broken triplets, like the first two of the triplet, or the second and third. And of course you can practice the shuffle with both hands. I can reverse and play the shuffle here and the ride cymbal over there, but you can mix them up any way you want. But don't just play the exercises in the book. Use your imagination and how you can use those exercises in different ways. Now I'm going to jump ahead to basic rhythm number 5. This is on page 36. But the one that I've selected to demonstrate is the second measure. This has the bass drum on the third note of each triplet. In other words, we're playing the bass drum on the afterbeat. The hi-hat is still on 2. The bass drum plays continuous afterbeats. So let's go through that. This is again basic rhythm number 5, second measure, and of course reading down. And again, in the book there will be 2 exercises for the snare drum on page 36, and then another 4 exercises on page 37. So this is the established rhythm. The hi-hat, now the bass drum. I'm going to repeat that, but a little faster tempo. Now I'm going to do a 3/4 measure and go back to page 34. And under basic rhythm number 2, I'm going to play the first 3/4 measure, the very first 3/4 measure. It has the bass drum on 1 and the hi-hat on 2. And then, of course, we add the left hand. So I'll play these individually. Here's the second one. And it goes like this. Now the next one down, temporarily I'm going to skip because I don't want to do all of them, but I'll select certain ones. Look at the fourth one from the top. That has sort of a shuffle rhythm, but it's broken up in the first measure by a stroke. So it would be. Now let's take a look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the sixth one down, 2, 3, 4, 5, the sixth one down, which is a quarter note triplet, but it's a quarter note triplet in 3/4 time. So the third beat will be like the first beat of 4/4 time. So it will go like this. Try that a little bit faster. Now the last one has a double stroke on 2 and 3 of the first two triplets. So on page 34, the very first measure of 3/4 time has a hi-hat on 2 and 3. Now I'm going to take the next two exercises and put them together. What it is actually are quarter note triplets. But in 3/4 time when we play quarter note triplets, the second measure will be different than the first measure. The quarter note triplet is a 2-beat idea, and of course we're playing in 3/4 time. So when I play this, together, you see, the second measure will sound differently than the first measure. Now if I add that, now that's the first measure, actually the fourth one down, and then the fifth measure would be this one. Together, you'll see how the second measure, even though I'm playing constant quarter note triplets, has a different sound than the first measure.